Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elijah, for taking the time today.
Ew.
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. I love this movie. It's so much fun.
Aw.
I can't wait to share it with my kids. I haven't gotten to watch it with them yet, but I know we're gonna have so much fun. So to start off, what would you say about this movie for families? How would you get families to check it out?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it's a family movie through and through, but it sort of has everything. It has little bits for everybody. Like it's got a sort of through line of bizarre, interesting kind of funny adult humor, I suppose, with the sort of stakes that are safe enough for kids to enjoy. So it's very much this kind of like Ant would call it a throwback to general entertainment, these sort of movies that aren't really made anymore, where there's a sense of adventure, there's something in it for everybody, and the stakes aren't so dangerous that it's too scary, but it's also really fun for adults to watch. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I love about it so much, I'd worked with this creative team on a movie called Come to Daddy that's definitely not for families. And I love the sense of humor that was sort of present in that film and sort of bringing some of that into the context of this, that is this very much kind of like wilderness adventure was such a wonderful kind of marriage of ideas. And at the core of the movie, it's also about a father and a daughter reconnecting. So it's got a really strong emotional through line as well.
So I do want to ask you what something I thought was so fun is, you're tracking down a mythical creature in this. So if there was a mythical creature you would like to track down, what would it be?
Um, I mean, wow, there's so many great ones. Probably a unicorn.
Yes, the unicorn is such a good choice.
Unicorn or a dragon. A dragon would be pretty incredible to track down as well. But I mean, a unicorn, a flying horse with a horn. Come on.
I mean, that'd be so cool to see in person for sure. I do love your dynamic with Nell here. You guys are so much fun. And I love the back and forth and how she constantly will be like, yeah, that's not actually real. Like the
Yeah,
way she spoils the magic is fantastic. But I'd love to talk to you about finding that dynamic with her.
totally. And Nell is incredible. I mean, I think, in some ways she had the harder task with this film. She really carries the movie. It solely rests on her shoulders. She is the bookworm of the movie. And her sort of acumen in regards to the wilderness and her sort of precociousness really sort of puts is sort of the driving force and the engine of the movie. And it was easy. I mean, honestly, she made my job easy. She came to the film embodying so much of what that character is herself. She had a word of the day that I've now forgotten every single one of them, and they were highly complicated, with super long construction. So she sort of embodied those things naturally, and then we had about 5 days, almost a week prior to shooting, where we were able to rehearse everything and also go to the locations and sort of work out the general blocking so that on the day we were able to be super prepared. And I think in that time we just naturally sort of slotted into that relationship and she knew the script backwards and forwards. In fact, she kind of had memorized everyone's lines. So she was so unbelievably prepared, that on the day we just had a blast. It was a really easy, fun dynamic.
Oh, I love that because you two are so, so great together. But I want to talk to you too about Strawn because he's so fun. I like had so much fun with him the way he, dealt with the I don't want to give spoilers, but the people that they encounter on the way. And he's just so much fun. So can you talk about finding that character?
Definitely. I mean, the thing about Strawn is that he is, I think he's hiding a pretty strong sense of vulnerability. He comes from this sort of magician past that he's still trying desperately to hold on to. So that's a lot of the fun for me with the character is, this guy that is kind of useless, especially in this scenario with his daughter, especially in the wilderness, and playing with that usefulness or uselessness, whilst trying desperately to sort of hold on to his sense of identity, and then kind of stripping that away as the movie comes along. But that's the fun of the character, is this guy like so desperately holding on to his past and that being the definition that sort of defines him. So playing, I also prepared with a magician prior to working on the film because it was important that I at least look like I know what I was doing with cards. So I worked with this guy called Mike Pisciato, who's amazing, for about a month prior to shooting, just to get those details right. But it's a rich character in that he is sort of a buffoon, desperately trying to sort of win the affection of his daughter and getting there ultimately through vulnerability, which was a lot of fun to play.
Yeah. Would you say you learned anything about like camping or the wilderness, or were you already pretty well versed?
I was already pretty well versed. I mean, I've been camping before. I've been on a few river trips. Yeah, comfortable in nature, comfortable outside. I've spent a lot of time tramping around the New Zealand countryside over the years. So yeah, no, I love the wilderness and I love being outside. And that was also a real appeal to this film too. I again I'd worked with Ant Timpson, the director, and the kind of creative team on Come to Daddy. And the sort of premise of this was in part to go to New Zealand and film a movie outside for a couple of months, which was a really thrilling idea. I hadn't been in New Zealand in a long time, and the idea of going back and returning to film something like this was just really thrilling.
Yeah, and then final question. Speaking of New Zealand, obviously, like you said, you spent some time there. So
Yeah.
is there anything you were like most excited, maybe food to eat again or a place to visit again?
Um, I mean, I also brought my family. So my wife and kids had never been to New Zealand, so that was a first. So I was super keen to show them the country. We didn't get a ton of time, so we were in Auckland for a bit, and then a majority of the film was shot in the Canterbury countryside, just outside of Christchurch. So there was a lot of New Zealand that I didn't get to show them. Wellington, Queenstown, various places that I had spent a lot of time in my youth. But I mean, great New Zealand meat pies, shared that with them. Things that I was stoked to revisit. I mean, I just the countryside, just sort of, driving around and being in that wilderness and being amongst those people that I have such a strong affection for.
Amazing. I mean, I want to go there so bad. I actually had a childhood friend whose family visited there and then moved there after they visited.
I mean, I get it. Honestly, one of my life's greatest regrets, and I don't have many, is that I didn't buy property back 20 years ago when it would have been far easier to do that than it is now. But listen, I've spoken to so many people who have gone to New Zealand for a job or a brief visit and suddenly fallen in love with the place and ended up moving there. I get it. It's a very special place.